Boys and girls, it's time to gather around because today we are back in the gym. Now, believe it or not, a long time ago, Pastor Todd could run really fast and he could run really far. I know, it's hard to believe, but it's true. And as I was thinking about running, I was also thinking about my high school track team. You know, on that team, there were boys and girls who were called sprinters. Now, a sprinter is someone who can run really fast, but for short distances. And then there were long distance runners. Now, these were boys and girls who could run really far. Now, they certainly ran fast, and not as fast as the sprinters, but more importantly, they ran far. And as I was thinking about both types of runners, I was also remembering that none of them carried a bunch of weights around when they ran a race. Now, why do you suppose that's the case? That's right, because if you carried a bunch of weight around while you were trying to run a race, you would lose, and you certainly wouldn't go very far. Now, as I was thinking about running, and I was also thinking about carrying a bunch of weight around, I recalled one of my favorite verses about exercising, and I want to read it to you now. It's found in Hebrews chapter 12. So if you have a Bible, open it up, and it's way back to the back of the Bible, and we're going to look at verses 1 through 2 today. And as I read it, remember, this is the Word of God. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So how do we apply these two verses to our lives today? Well, I have a couple suggestions. One, this weight they're talking about is not a big old barbell with a bunch of weights on it. It's actually anything that would hinder you or keep you from becoming more like Jesus. And the best way to find out what those things are to ask God to reveal them to you. So spend some time in prayer and say, God, what is hindering me and keeping me from being more like Jesus? And I promise you, God's really good at revealing to us where we're struggling. So that's one way we can do this. And the other one is this sin. Unfortunately, sin clings to each and every boy and girl of every age. And it's something we'll struggle with for our whole lives. But here's the deal. I have seen boys and girls of all ages go to God and confess their sin. And then you know what they do? Instead of leaving that sin with God and allowing Him to forgive it and to forget it, they pick it back up and they carry that burden of guilt wherever they go. And that is not what the Bible is telling us to do. So as you confess your sin and you say, God, I'm sorry for doing this, believe that He forgives you and leave it with Him. And then lastly, verse 2 gives us some strong encouragement on how we're supposed to run the race, and that is to look to Jesus. Now, one of the things that made my high school track coach go crazy was when boys and girls would look to their left, or they would look to their right, or even behind them when they were running a race to see who was close to them. And he knew from experience, when you look to the side or behind you, not only would it slow you down, but it could also disqualify you because you could actually run out of bounds, and then you're no longer in the race. And so for us as believers, men and women and boys and girls who love Jesus, we need to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus and run the race with Him set before us, knowing that one day we will get to spend eternity with Him. So boys and girls, run the race, run it fast, run it far, but make sure you cast off those weights and make sure also that you confess that sin and you let God deal with just handling all of that, and you just keep running so that you can be more like Jesus. So until next time, bye-bye.